All right, and we are live. What up, players? Welcome to another episode of Player Life. Today we have a special guest on the show, Chris Moffat, and we are going to discuss navigating today's dating market in 2022 in the kind of woke environment that we're all living in. So, what's up, bro? How are you today?
I'm great, man. Yeah, it's good stuff. I always catch Rich's show on Mondays. He's always live at 8 p.m. Eastern. And I usually do a sort of after show on this small app called Stereo, which is sort of like a podcasting audio only app. But I've been known to rub people the wrong way on that. So every now and then they'll hit me with a 24-hour suspension. So this is perfect timing.
Cool. I've never heard of that app before. Actually, I'll link it in the description after. But do many people use it or?
It's not super well known. It's starting to pick up a little bit of steam. It's similar to Clubhouse. I don't know if you've heard of Clubhouse, but guys can get it. It's just I got into it because Rich started doing it with like Paul and some of the Rule Zero guys, and then he kind of bailed on it. But I started using it, and it's been a lot of fun. So it's a cool little thing that I like to do. You don't have to be on video. Everybody's kind of doing the YouTube thing, so I think it's cool to do something a little different. So I have a good time with it. But every now and then, it's a lot less censorship than YouTube, but it certainly doesn't have the reach or the marketing power that YouTube does.
Cool. I'll check it out. Sounds interesting. So what are you up to? Tell us a bit about where you're from and what how you came into this space.
Yeah, man. I mean, like most guys that kind of come to the red pill or kind of unplug from the matrix, and I've recently sort of decided that I want to use the term red pill less and less because I think it's just become such a bastardized term that if you were to do a quick Google search about red pill, you'd go to Reddit or just these crazy sites where people are talking about women are property, they deserve to be, raped, and it just you'll the crazy shit that's out there. So, people have a lot of misconceptions on what it actually is. That's probably the one thing that I get so tired of saying, that the red pill is not an ideology. It's not a philosophy. There's no dogma. There's no 10 commandments. There's nothing like that. But, like a lot of guys, had a string of serious relationships in my younger years, in my 20s. And, wasn't able to kind of figure out why they weren't working out. And I had some commonalities where things had, dated girls for a couple of years and thought about, the whole marriage thing and the kids and the white picket fence. And it wouldn't work out. And then I would go date around for a little bit, and then I would find another girl and do the same thing. And it became this sort of cycle. Well, finally got to the point where I was in New York City, very serious relationship with a girl for about 2.5 years. We had the dog, we lived together. It was right during COVID also. So we were together 24/7, and we dated for about 1.5 years before we moved in together. And we had the kid talk, where we were going to live, how many we were going to have, how many dogs we were going to own, that whole thing, that whole Disney dream that a lot of guys will go through. And it didn't work out. And like a lot of guys, it was for me, it was beta-tization by 1,000 concessions. It was the happy wife, happy life dynamic. And so eventually what actually led me onto the path and finding Rich Cooper's content, and then in turn, some of the other guys in the space, was she had very severe daddy issues. So she had been abandoned essentially when she was 13 legally by her biological dad. And she'd always said, hey, you're never allowed to talk about this. You're never allowed to ask me about it. You're never allowed to have an opinion about it. And so I was really going and looking for answers. Like, well, how can I date a girl? How can I help? I was still blue pilled at the time, plugged in, thinking about, well, how can I be a better boyfriend? Really, it was, how can I be a better beta? And how can I support her and her daddy issues? And one of the first videos that came up was kind of the one that started it all for Rich going into this stuff, which was like 3 women to avoid dating. And daddy issues was the first one. And so watching that video and then just going down the rabbit hole and reading the Rational Mail, and then Rich's book came out. I went on Rich's show. He was doing a Monday show with Aaron Clary, and that's still up. I think it's Before the Train Wreck, episode 72. If anybody's interested in seeing me the first time I was ever on camera. And that night I joined the community. So, and ever since then, I've been in the community since about February 2021. So coming up on 2 years. And it's been the greatest thing I've ever done. So I've learned a lot of lessons along the way. And, thank goodness I didn't wind up with the woman I thought I was going to end up with, because I certainly wouldn't be here.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, girls with daddy issues, I mean, they're not good to date, but they're good to have sometimes on the roster.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, they're great in bed, but yeah, not really wanting to be dating them seriously unless you're wanting to invite problems into your life. Definitely not.
Totally.
But I do kind of agree. I agree with you, like not wanting to be associated with under like putting a box, like you've been called like red pill or this pill or that pill. Because I mean, to be quite honest, there's a lot of ideas that like in any kind of ideology or whatever it is, any kind of space that you're going to disagree with. I there's tons of ideas in the red pill space that I disagree with, or like certain people that are known as red pill content creators that I wouldn't agree with at all on a lot of things. I'd agree with them on some things, but um I was just saying, there's this. What do you think of this idea that like? I think this idea in the red pill space is put out there a lot, and personally I disagree with it. But there's this idea that if you put your head down and do the work and become a high value guy, suddenly girls are just going to start coming to you and start DMing you and stuff like that. So my idea, like this idea is kind of put out there a lot by certain people, and I just disagree with it. It's I don't think it's ever going. It's not. It doesn't really work like that. Like, sure, I'm not saying not to become a high value guy. Try and become a high value guy, but of course, guys should try and become the best versions of themselves. But you still need to learn game. Like, it's not in female nature to like chase down guys. I mean, sure, sometimes they do it, but the guy like their attraction level has to be through the roof. Like they have to be like so into that guy. Like the guy is usually exceptionally handsome, is famous or something like that. But I'm just saying to guys, like you still need game. So you need to do the work, and you need game. Like there's just no way around it.
No, I saw you tweet about that today, and I think it's a really great point. I think sometimes that does get lost on a lot of guys, and I think Jared mentioned this on the cast that he had, where a question we get all the time is, "Hey, should I just put my head down and make a bunch of money until I'm rich, and then I can go get with women, or should I wait until I have a six pack and dedicate all my time in the gym and eating and just be in complete monk mode?" And the thing is, you're never going to be ready. You're never going to reach that point where you're going to start doing it. So you have to be able to hone your skills and apply sort of these principles to all things in your life. And you're absolutely right. Women are generally, I mean, I think you said, you've been maybe approached a handful of times, but I mean, 99.9% of the time we're making the approaches and we're putting ourselves out there. And women aren't naturally tuned to rejection, and it's just not something that's a natural of order things. And I've always thought, I've had women approach me before, and there's something that it's like something sinister. Like the first thing I want to say is, who's messing with me right now? And like, who do you know? What buddy here is in the club or in the bar that's sending a girl to come talk to me and pretend that she's interested in me and trying to like make me look dumb in front of people? And if nothing like that, like, okay, then something's a little bit off with this chick, where she doesn't have that sort of natural wiring, where she just is like, yeah, whatever, I'll just go approach any guy and I'll just go say, hey, do you want to come home? Like, that's not a girl that I'm generally going to think is maybe right in the head. But, it's a great point. And I think that You see a lot of guys that are jacked that don't get women. You see a lot of guys that are rich that don't get women. I think one of the things I try to help a lot of guys out with is, I know a lot of guys that are doing well, that are making money, that are doing great business, entrepreneurs in great shape, but where they really fail to capitalize that is their social media presence. And if you're going to be dating girls in their 20s and 30s in 2022, 2023, you've got to have a social media presence. Otherwise, fine, go date 40 and 50-year-olds. That's totally cool. But, guys are like, yeah, I'm in great shape. I make great money. And it's like, yeah, dude, but do you do anything cool? And if you do you document it? And I've been doing a lot of independent research on just the effects of Instagram and how that's a dating app. I know Jaron was talking about, Facebook Marketplace, like anything that's online can be used as a dating app.
Right.
But so many guys that sort of come into the red pill and they say, cool, well, I want to date younger. They don't really know where to start. So yeah, there's a lot to unpack there around just do the work and women will come to you. Women are really never going to come to you. They're going to be more open to your advancements. They're going to be more open to you approaching them, and you're going to be on the playing field, but they're certainly not going to be hitting you up in your DMs, coming to you, anything like that. And I think that's bad advice in a nutshell.
Yeah. I mean, indeed, yeah. You're going to be waiting a long time, most guys, unless, like I said, you're exceptionally handsome or you have clout or fame or social media presence. They're not gonna come. It's just not in their nature. I mean, I've been approached a handful of times, and I'm similar to you, as in I feel like what's going on, who's trying to scam me here, or it's weird. I remember one time in particular, I almost felt sorry for the girl because she was kind of like this cute girl, but she's clearly in hit the wall kind of thing, and she was it's kind of sense of desperation. She cold approached me with her friend and asked me did I have a girlfriend, and I was like,
yeah, those are brutal, dude. I've been there, and you're just you want to be nice and you want to let them down easy, and so you say, yeah, unfortunately I do, or whatever it is. But it's the same situation if a girl is really overtly sexual right off the bat, whether it's over text. You're okay, this is not the natural. What's more likely? I'm so good looking and she's so into me that she just wants to fuck me right off the bat, or something's up.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, well, you run into that when you certainly run into that when you use dating apps, and
yeah, 100%.
You're okay, that's a red flag. You start to become very acclimatized to it, very, the kind of scam. I mean, you can tell when a girl's profile is fake, and it's oh yeah, okay. She sends a link to her OnlyFans account. It's all right, let's get it. Yeah.
Snapchat or whatever, WhatsApp or whatever.
It's done, But I mean, you were saying about Instagram, so I presume you run game mostly online, or what?
Yeah, the vast majority of my stuff I do online. I work crazy hours, so I have a corporate job, and then I have some other stuff that I'm trying to do on the side. I do a little bit of work for Rich in sort of maintaining the 1% community, which is his men's community that I'm part of. So, I'm not somebody that's constantly out and out and about and going around. It's really, I'm in the gym 5, 6 a.m. and I'm pulling generally anywhere from a 10 to 12 hour day, five days a week, 6 days a week, even on weekends. So for me, just logistically, and I've structured my game to work that way. I've put in the work there, having a good Instagram profile, treating it like a funnel, understanding the dynamics of text and dating game, and understanding what dating apps are and what they're not. So where I've optimized it pretty well for my own success. Not to say that I won't make a cold approach every now and then, or if I see a girl, I'll just chat her up. But for the most part, just from a time optimization standpoint, it's I would say 90+% online.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's all about optimizing game to suit your lifestyle. I mean, if you're really busy with work, it makes sense for you to use dating apps and run game online, because I mean, it's just if you don't have the the opportunity very often to like do a cold approach, or you're just not, you're in the office or whatever you're doing, it makes sense, but so what kind of what apps do you use? All the apps, or like which ones do you use mostly?
Yeah, so I used Bumble for a while. I got banned from Bumble, so I use
Mm.
Hinge and Tinder
That's
now.
the thing about Bumble, man. Like it's so easy to get banned. Like it's like crazy. I mean,
I
it's just
yeah,
kind of
that
annoying.
that's a story within itself, man. So I had, two girls that were sort of fighting over me. I thought I was getting catfish, and the second girl actually turned out to be real. And then they wound up knowing each other, and then there was so much drama between the two of them. And so I basically just said, you know what, I'm out. I'm not dealing with it. And the next morning, I couldn't log into my Bumble account, and one of the girls was like, "Yeah, that's what happens when like you ghost people." Like, and so she reported me, and like that was it. They're out. Now, I actually recently got kicked off Hinge, but I appealed it and I won the appeal. But what the crazy part about that, a lot of people don't know this. Like if you get banned off a dating app, what they'll do, because your dating apps are synced to usually like your email or a phone number, some sort of unique identifier so you can log in. They send an email to everyone that you've matched with, even people that you've unmatched with or deleted. They sent an email that said, "Hey, just so you know, this user was banned for XYZ misconduct."
Holy shit! Are you
Oh yeah,
serious?
because there was a girl I was seeing at the
No
time.
way.
There
Like
was a
on
girl I was
Bumble?
seeing. Oh no, this was Hinge. This was like a couple weeks ago.
Oh, okay, that's
Bumble,
fun.
Bumble, I think, did it too. I think Bumble does it too. I mean, well, there's one company that owns like all the dating apps. They're all under like one umbrella. There's one sort of like big company. I don't know if it's Match
That's
or whatever
really
it is,
fucked up. But
but
if you think about it,
and so they do it under the guise of, hey, it's we want to keep people safe and we want to provide an inclusive environment. And even though that 60% of the user base of dating apps is men, they still cater to the minority, which is women, and that's the gynocentric social order that we live in. But I was seeing a girl still at the time, and she's like, hey, I got this email that you got kicked off Hinge. Like, what the fuck? So I had to appeal it, and they basically said, "Oh yeah, like we messed up, but also all of your matches and all your conversations are gone. Like good luck." And it's like, well, are you going to send out an email to all these girls and say we made a mistake and he's not a scammer and he's not a piece of shit? Like they don't care. So you just have to understand if you're going to do the dating app game, like you just have to understand what you're getting yourself into. Um, there's if you're a really risky, polarizing guy and you really like want to do that kind of stuff, it'll work some of the times, but for the most part, it's too much of a risk if you don't want to get your shit kicked off. And for somebody that just uses them quite a bit, like I do, that's just the way that it goes. So I understand what they are and what they're not, and figured out a way to optimize.
I mean, I've heard of guys being banned off Hinge, off Bumble for just not, nothing like, just like even you just can't get into it at all with girls, and even at all with girls, and even if you don't do anything bad at all, they can like just report you and get you banned. It's really nuts like that. It's really like really shitty. I mean, to be quite honest, it's part of the reason I don't use dating apps. It's just I don't like the whole having to, uh, just change the way I operate, just but just to suit the app and the algorithm. Plus, I like my lifestyle allows me to do a lot of cold approach.
Yeah.
I'm living like it's in Tokyo. Like there's just so many options. If I leave my apartment, I'm gonna see hot girls real soon, real quick. But yeah, it's like it's kind of nuts that we're living in such a gynocentric order where they can just like girls can just report you for like saying anything. I know like I got banned. Well, like I did do something kind of like it was stupid, but I should never have gotten banned for it. I remember like it was I got into it. I can't even remember why I got into it with her, but she said something cheeky to me. I literally it's so long ago since it happened. Like it's over a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember the conversation because it's like deleted. Like I can't log in, so I can't even remember now. I've forgotten about it. But I do remember I did send her an empty egg carton, like just to get like dig at her. Just like it was just like I'm gonna fuck this. And it's like, and then the next day I couldn't log in. Like it was like that was the worst thing I did at it. That was it.
Yeah.
That was it. And
Yeah,
then,
but you want to talk about how funny they are, and they want to find somebody that's funny, and they love humor, but not when it's at their expense, I guess.
Yeah, and then I've had a friend. I warned him not to get into like. I actually warned. I said, Bumble, just don't get into it with chicks at all about anything because you will get banned.
Yeah, it's unmatched.
And he was just like, oh well, it was just fun, and he started like telling these girls that started getting into like all the beer bug shit, all the jab kind of talk with them, and I was like, dude, like just you're gonna get banned, and he got banned, like got banned real quick, because like at that, especially during the whole at the height of all the nonsense, chicks would be like, oh, I can't leave my house, and they, eventually get into the. I'd say so many guys got banned for like calling chicks out, like just for saying, that the beer bug is a load of shit. It's just, I'd say so many guys just got banned for nothing,
Yeah, it's just you don't want to do anything that's going to come off and be perceived as combative. It's just one of the things that you gotta. It's the necessary evil of using it. That's just the way that it goes.
Does Tint like I will say this about Bumble, like I mean I will say as an app it was like when I did use dating apps, it was the second best dating app I've ever used. I talked a little bit about before about the best dating app I ever used wasn't even a dating app. It was called Hello Talk. It was a language exchange app that I used here in Tokyo, in Japan, and you could match with people in your, not match, but you could just you didn't have to match with them. You could directly message them. You could find people in your local area, and you could see if it was a guy or a girl because they had a profile, and that was insane. That was insane. It used to give like warnings on the on wherever it would on the app, like they don't use this as a dating app. If you use this as a dating app, you will be banned. But I like lots of people did. My friend put it on to me, and he was right. It was a great dating app. But then they changed the settings to be you had to like you weren't able to search people in your local area as easy, and I just stopped using it since then. But the thing about it for me is like, I mean, my brand is about doing cold approach and day game, because it's like I've just always like, when I compare the kind of girls I get with from that I've picked up in real life, whether it be from nightlife or day game, it's always like they've always as far out been just a few notches above the kind of girls I've gotten with from dating apps. Whenever I've gotten with like some really hot girl from dating apps, it's kind of like few and far between. It's just very hard to get those matches with like some seriously hot girls. But in real life, I just feel like I've have like much more of an advantage. What would you say about that?
Yeah, I would agree. I would say, I mean, there are good looking girls on dating apps. I think a lot of women will have that as.
I just want to say one thing. I'm not saying there isn't good looking girls on dating. There absolutely is, but it's more that like I can't like seal a deal with them. I can't that's.
Yeah.
But in real life, I have a much higher chance. That's what I'm saying.
I'd say like the most attractive women on dating apps are usually using them for attention or funneling people to their Instagrams to get followers or OnlyFans or whatever. A lot of them make it because they can mindlessly go through their likes when they're sitting at home on a Thursday night, watching The Bachelorette or whatever the fuck, and they can just say, look at all these guys that want to fuck me. And it's just kind of an ego boost thing for them, but they really have no intention of ever meeting up or matching or anything like that. So I think a lot of them, it's just they need the constant dopamine hit, guys simping for them, or they'll just like talk shit about the dudes and the matches and the messages they get with their girlfriends and things like that. So yeah, it's difficult to kind of cut through the noise for the most part. Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah, I think and to your point, yeah, I think it's a myth that like, oh, there's no hot girls on dating apps, but you're an avatar. Like, you're an online avatar. You're not even really a person. She doesn't see you or your mannerisms, the way you talk, carry yourself, anything like that you can, demonstrate in a cold approach. So, or any sort of in-person interaction. So it certainly got its pros and cons, like with anything else.
Yeah, it's definitely a myth or a cope. Like, I'll fully admit there are hot girls on dating apps. It's just it's just I'm not able to get them as easy.
Yeah.
I can, and it's not even easy. I'm not saying it's easy with day game either. It's not easy, but it's like it's easier. And because like there's just something about real life. Like you can convey so much more. Like you can really show. Like you strut up to a girl, and like she just like can see your confidence. There's no faking it. There's just like she knows you're the real deal or not. Within like seconds.
Well, women's attention span is extremely fleeting, especially when they're on their phone. So, I mean, their notifications are going off all day. They're going through their DMs. They're checking their whatever. They're checking their Snapchats. They're, reading some bullshit, reality TV show article. So it's like they're just getting bombarded constantly on this little device, and so much of it is right place, right time, said the right thing to pique her interest. And you might have a girl on the hook, and then she just might get bored and then lose interest, and then that's it. And that happens. And so, in person, it's you at least got a little bit more staying power. You're right. It's hard to ignore somebody that's standing in front of you, talking to you, asking you questions. Like, yeah. And then ignoring a blip on your phone.
But yeah, they can also they can experience your aura. Yeah, like they can maybe Absolutely. You can smell your cologne. Like it's just different. Like because you're right in front of them. But it's like on a dating app, there's so much more. Like there's so much less you can convey. Really, like sure you can have great photos and like have an interesting bio, but they can't see you. They can't like smell you or like see you. Like I think the thing about cold approach and meeting girls in real life is like it's like very hard to fake. Like fake it till you make it, but kind of like we're all human. We're kind of good at reading people. Like a chick is going to know whether or not you're like. They basically kind of know whether you fuck or not. I would say they're like, okay, this guy fucks. Like that's they know. Like, and I think at this point, when I roll up the girls, they kind of know I fuck. Like, like it's just like you can't fake that. Why is this? Sometimes girls ask me, "Am I drunk?" Or like they ask me, "Are you drunk?" Like, why are you so confident? And it's not like I'm overtly confident or like I'm doing some kind of clown show or anything. But they're like, oh, this is like they're just not used to being like girls don't get cold approaches, that much in real life.
It's true.
And sometimes, I mean, even the hotter the girls, sometimes the less they're cold approached,
Yeah.
But online, I mean, they're bombarded like from left, right, and center. I mean,
right.
They're little celebrities.
Dating apps are a buffer for rejection. So as a normal guy on a dating app, you swipe right on a girl and you don't ever hear back. You don't get the same rejection or sort of the sting of rejection because you can rationalize that. I'm not saying I do. I'm just saying your average normal guy can rationalize that any way he likes. Oh, maybe she didn't see it. Oh, or maybe she deleted the app, or maybe her boyfriend texted her right before she saw my profile, and if she had just seen me, we would be going out. As opposed to, yeah, maybe I did see it. This guy was uggo, and I swiped left on him. And you made up such a great point about it's really hard to fake. And I've had texting exchanges with girls that I'm trying to meet up with where, like, I play the cocky, funny guy, and the like, hey, I'm putting you to work, like I'm not easily impressed, kind of stuff. And that's who I really am, and I embody that. But there's been multiple times where girls have been like, yeah, like every fucking guy says that. Jesus Christ, not another one. So there's definitely like swarms of guys that are putting on an act and putting on a show like, oh, I hope you can keep up, or I'm not easily impressed. And it's like, dude, you would throw a parade if a girl even just looked at you like she wanted to fuck you. So yeah, it's something that I've been thinking about a lot, and that's why to me I try not to waste any time. It's like, hey, look, like get off the apps, get the number, set the date, and then I kind of let that set the tone. But there's admittedly like there's definitely a lot more room in my game where it could be for day gaming, colding approaching, things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's an interesting point. Yeah, like it's important to I always do the same. Like I always text with a purpose. That's kind of like I guess with like dating apps, you have to do a little more than that. Like sometimes you have to put in a little more groundwork in order to get their interest. Like if you just go, hey, let's meet, like they're just going to be, it's too soon,
Sometimes you do. Sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised at how many women I've talked to that are just like, I get guys that match with me and they just want to chat back and forth all day long and they never want to pull the trigger. So sometimes girls will just say like, I went out with a girl Saturday night. Literally her prompt in Hinge was, just ask me out on a date. And I was like, okay, cool. When are you free? She's like, Saturday. I'm like, dope. This place, this time. I'll see you then. And that was it. So like, it's not a commonality. But there are women out there that are just like, I think they are sick of the groundwork and they're just like, I don't want a guy that's going to just chat me up. You know what? I'd rather just get me out of the house. And if the date sucks, I'll just say I got to go after 30 minutes. But the last thing they want is to be bored by these guys.
Right, for sure. Yeah. I mean, I think, some guys put in way too much groundwork and they're too slow and they think that but but then you're right though. You can't like waste too much time. You just got to be like, you just got to get to it. You just can't be that guy because if you're that guy that's like going to be sending all these messages back and forth, he's like, what's this fucking guy doing? Like, does he like what like spending all this time messaging me? Like it's like you're too invested. Like it should
Right.
She unconsciously or consciously knows this guy doesn't have much else to be doing. Like this guy must be like kind of lame, They don't want some guy that has all this time to message her all day,
That's a huge mistake I see a lot of guys make when they first meet a girl, and let's say they are going out on a couple of dates. And so, I've had multiple guys that have come to me and say, look, man, we started off really hot and heavy and we went out maybe once or twice a week and we were texting all the time. They were doing like the good morning, good night text and all, whatever the fuck that is. And, as guys do, we start to get bored of the same girl. We want variety. We want to kind of see what else is out there. And, but women really, really pick up on that stuff super well. Women can see when that stuff is changing. You have to either maintain the same level or increase it. You can't really downshift gears when it comes to that. So however you start off with a girl, if you're texting her all the time and you're making the mistake of being too available and answering every time she texts you within 5 minutes, you either keep that up forever or you get ready to, have a woman that's going to bring drama into your life. So a lot of guys will show overinvestment far too early, a handful of dates, and they're already thinking about, and that's a guy, the thing about the white picket fence and all that. And that's just a guy that just doesn't understand, female nature in a way and what women are really actually attracted to.
Yeah, for sure. I think speaking of, since we're talking about, not wasting time, like on dates, some guys spend way too much time actually on the date. Like they spend hours with a girl that they could have closed after 30 minutes had they actually tried.
Yeah.
But I think they don't think that's possible. You get me? What do you think about guys spending like too much time actually on the date with a girl?
Yeah, there's a lot of comments I hear about this. For one, I know guys that say, hey, first dates are an hour long. That's it, because you're a busy guy and you got other things to do. And their whole thing is leave them wanting more, as opposed to, well, why don't you just have the date over in 30 or 45 minutes and then pull her back to your place and then actually have some fun. So I think you're right, because women will make up in their minds whether they're going to sleep with a guy within the first 30 seconds. And guys will never talk themselves into sex. They'll only talk themselves out of sex. So
That's
yeah,
facts.
I think pulling the trigger earlier than you normally would. There's no reason to be out with a girl 2-3 hours on a date. And I guess depends on what your intentions are. I mean, look, I'm the kind of guy that I'm along with Jaron's take, and my take is that I want to sleep with a girl as fast as humanly possible. Not because that's just how I'm wired, but before I do that, I think this goes for most men, if not all men. Before you sleep with a girl, you don't even know if you like her. You might think you like her, or that's just you not understand that's you wanting to sleep with her. Right? You might think, oh my gosh, she's so funny. She's so interesting. She just gets all my jokes. She's really pretty. It's like, you just haven't been inside this girl yet. And so
Right.
once that finally goes away, now you can actually look at her through clear glasses and say, now the real evaluation period starts. Is she pleasant to be around? Is she annoying? Is she going to blow my phone up all the time? Is she going to ask me, what are we, after we just have sex for the first time? So until that happens, that's why I recommend guys close and go for the score as soon as possible. I don't see the point in waiting. I would never recommend waiting past the third date. If you're a guy that routinely gets it on the first date, I know a lot of guys that put that rule into place where they won't even spend another hour with a woman if she's not gonna if they don't sleep together on the first date, because he's just used to doing that. So there's a lot of different ways to look about it, I think.
Yeah, I definitely think guys should need to experience sleeping with a girl, but because well, as soon as possible, because sometimes you just don't have that physical chemistry between it. You might find her physically attractive, but when you actually start making out with her, she doesn't taste quite right. The kiss isn't that great. It's just not that great. You get what I'm saying? And on the other hand, sometimes it's just like you're on fire with a girl. It's just the attraction is all off the charts when you start like having physical contact with her. Just so turned on by her. It's just intense,
Yeah,
so it's better to know that sooner rather than later.
definitely.
And I always think, my strategy is to escalate like as soon as possible. So through even on cold approach, when I first meet a girl, I'll always slightly escalate by shaking her hand, touching her hand, seeing, and you can tell a lot from a girl just through touch of hand. It's not very, it doesn't seem very sexual, and it's not that, but it actually can be. Like just touching a girl's hand, just shaking her hand, you can convey a lot, and you can read her interest level from you just from her hand. Like I can tell whether a girl is interested in me or not just through the way she lets me hold her hand or touch her hand when I shake it. A girl that's not interested tends to pull it away, and to not just take her hand away after I shake it. A girl that is interested, her hand will she let me hold her hand. She won't pull it away. She won't move back. Try and get out of your space. So I definitely recommend guys should, when doing cold approach, just on that point, they should try and read a girl through shaking her hand.
Yeah, agreed. I
And
mean, there's so much that can be conveyed in that body language, and touch is something that communicates so much. There's a couple of questions here in the chat that I'm seeing come through. The first one being, is it easier to say you're only interested in sex? So that is a question that gets brought up a lot. That's mostly, I think Hubert said that, Hubert Humphrey.
Is that
Um,
back further? Or?
I'm seeing that at 1025.
Okay. Let me get it. 10.
Or I guess that would be for you. Would be
Okay, it's not loading up the
okay.
ones.
I'm sitting here in the StreamYard chat, so I don't know if we're not seeing the same thing.
Okay. What's the question?
Okay, so the question is, so when we talked about, he said, wouldn't it be easier to say you're only interested in sex? Well, that's not what we're saying, right? I think what we're saying is it is important to understand if you actually like a girl that you need to have sex with her first, and that you should try to get to that point as fast as possible. Now, if you are a guy if you are a guy who's only interested in sex, this is a common thing that women will try to tell men to try to trick you into basically revealing your intentions. When women say things to you like, just be honest and upfront, if you're just looking to have sex, just say that. They want you to play your hand so they can essentially disqualify you.
Right.
It's very rare that you're going to be able to go up to a girl and say, hey, I just want to sleep with you and never talk to you again. And she's going to be like, yeah, okay. If you're a rapper or a famous athlete, then yeah, you can probably pull that off. But 99.9% of men, probably not going to happen.
Yeah, man. I mean, generally when girls ask me that question, I I say, I mean it's definitely a shit test. So you just handle it by saying, I mean how do you handle it? I want to
Well, if a girl asks me what am I looking for, or like, do you want to just have sex with me, or like, what's the actual question?
Yeah. Because she's like, when she brings up, are you just looking to have sex? Say.
And I say, what are you so worried about sex about? Like, clearly it's on your mind. If there's something you need to get off your chest, and if you're attracted to me and you want to sleep with me, that's very flattering. But I'm a good boy, and my mother raised me not to, give that away so easily. So slow down a little bit. Maybe buy me a drink first, and then we can discuss it later.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good response. Usually I say something like, well, I'm a guy, of course I like sex, but I don't really know you like that yet,
Yeah.
So that's how I handle it.
Yeah.
Guy, I definitely like sex, but I don't know you like that yet.
Yeah. You
like off like she's and kind of turn the tables on them a little bit.
Like, slow down, huh? Like, relax a little bit. Yeah. I'm not a piece of meat,
Yeah. You got to turn the tables with these chicks.
Yeah. And then the second one that I saw was the one after that. So now this is something that I thought about a lot too. So a guy says, if I sleep with a girl on the first date, if a girl is willing to sleep with you on a first date, is she not girlfriend material? And I think there's some truth in this, but there's also some nuance too. So you have to look at it as to what your personal experience is as a guy. Are you a guy who is routinely pulling girls on the first date? Then you probably have game, and it's probably you. If you're not routinely pulling on a first date and a girl is going home with you, then probably more likely that she does that often and has done that before. So it really measures up to your level. So you get to a point where, like, yeah, pulling on the first date, really not that big a deal. That says more about you than I think it does her. But if it's something that doesn't happen to you that often, then I think the tables get turned, the shoes on the other foot.
Yeah. I think definitely it's not a deal. I mean, if you're looking for a relationship, if I don't think guys go looking for a relationship first of all, but
right,
it's not a deal breaker for a girl sleeps with you on the first date. I mean, why would it be? If she puts out and you get on with her and you like her, then yeah. And
what's stopping you?
Why would that be a deal breaker? I mean, I've dated girls. I've had relationships with girls that I banged on the first date. So, I think if right now I'm not looking for any kind of relationship, to be honest. But I think if a girl refused to let me escalate on the first date in any way, I'm not gonna. Not only am I probably not gonna see her again, I'm probably gonna end the date like sooner. I've been on dates where girls won't even let me touch they'll they'll move themselves away from me on a date. I try and sit beside them. They'll make it difficult for me to sit beside them. In those instances, I don't spend very long. It's because they're basically telling you, yeah, they're not feeling you, you know, and it's important to be able to read those body language cues so you don't waste a lot of time.
Yeah, and admittedly, that's again why if you are solely focused on dating apps and dating apps only, which a lot of men these days are, especially young men, you miss a lot of that nuance. I've been interested in the PUA stuff since Mystery went on that freaking VH1 TV show, The Pickup Artist, and he got 2 seasons of TV. And I remember I can't remember how old I was. Maybe I was a teenager, high school age. I don't know how long ago it came out. I want to say like mid to late 2000s, but I was just fascinated with that stuff. And I was reading up on it. And in college, I was trying that kind of stuff out. But, it's just, I've always been fascinated by, pickup and the Venusian arts and just the psychology around, intersexual dynamics and why things work the way they work. And so it's all been really cool to have this kind of come full circle. And now it's not just about, I've learned all about attraction and then sort of in the immediate, but then also the power of, how to make long-term relationships work and the things that go into play there. So yeah, I think it's all truly fascinating, but I think guys that, don't have that experience or haven't ever really been out or had to go out and experience rejection and having a girl throw a drink in your face or say like, stop talking to me or whatever, are missing out on a really, really valuable lesson and experience on how to handle rejection.
Yeah. I mean, you got to handle rejection like a champ and not as, Crypto Runner says. But again, guys, don't get beat up or butt hurt if you don't get the lay on the first date. Chill. I mean, it's just not that big a deal. I mean, it's like, well, you can't force it, and
Yeah.
you just have to. That's why you just need to be sourcing.
Yeah. You start to know which kind of girls will and which kind of girls won't. And it comes down to age and it comes down to demographics. Logistics always play a huge part. Time is it during I think most of it comes down to logistics. What time is it during the weekday or the weekend? How old is she? Is she very, very focused on a relationship? Is it early in the evening? It's 7 o'clock as opposed to 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock. How difficult is it do you have any sort of plausible deniability to get her back to your apartment other than, hey, I want to take you home and want to bang you? So there are so many factors at play that I agree that if it doesn't happen, for the most part, it's probably not you. It's just all these different factors coming into play. But you can certainly increase your chances with understanding logistics and understanding how to attract a woman on a date.
Yeah, I agree. I think logistics is definitely huge part of getting laid regularly. A lot of guys, when they haven't done a lot of they don't have much experience dating. They've maybe just had one or two relationships, and they don't actually have a lot of experience like with a lot of different girls. So they actually go on dates with no plan of action, like so that they will go and they'll fall into the girl's frame. They won't meet the girl near his place. Just mistakes. They won't even put any thought into the logistics aspect of things. But I think as men, if you're looking to have success and get laid as soon as possible, and as guys, that most guys are, thinking about getting laid, you need to have a plan of action, like a basic, like, okay, I'm going to take her here, I'm going to have a few drinks with her, and then I'm going to walk her back to my place or take a taxi back. Or you have to have a plan. You can't just be like, oh, I'll follow her to the, she mentioned this restaurant up in this part of town. It's like that's really far from your place. Then, these little things matter massively. Like, a guy might be innocent about it and think, oh, she recommended this nice restaurant. I'll check it out. But, you're messing up when you do that. When
Yeah, and
you
it's always good to keep that under your hat too. You don't need to bombard her and say, "Hey, we're going to go to we're going to do this, we're going to do all that, we're going to do all this," because that
sure.
to her is going to communicate over invest. I had a guy that texted me. He was like, "Yeah, man, I told her that we were going to go to like 3 different places. We were going to go like grab ice cream, watch the sunset, then we were going to go on a walk, and then have a picnic with a bottle of wine." I'm like, dude, this girl thinks you're going to kill her. It's too much. It needs to be, hey, let's go grab a coffee. And then during the coffee, it's like, you know what? There's this place around the corner that I really, really like that makes a great, whatever. Let's go try it out. Or even if it's another drink spot, it's like, yeah, these cocktails are good, but there's another place that I was just at a couple of weeks ago that I really like. And you know what? You seem like you would like it too. So let's get out of here and go check it out. And, the multi-location plan is so powerful because it puts her in a state of going on multiple dates in one night. And
Right.
it's sort of now she's spent all of this time with you. And it's like the equivalent of like, well, now we're on our third date. And all it does is just builds comfort, builds comfort, builds comfort. And, as long as you're escalating and doing the right things, there's no reason to think that if you go to 2 or 3 locations that the last location shouldn't be your apartment.
Yeah. I mean, usually when I have a basic blueprint that I don't really change that much. There's no reason that once you have a basic blueprint for your dates, you don't need to really change it.
Yeah.
You change it slightly, but I very rarely go on dates anymore if the girl doesn't come to my area. I don't see the reason to go on the date. Because some girls will try and negotiate and say, "Oh, I know this place. Let's go here." And it's like, "Yeah, okay." I'm just not willing to invest that much time in, because I know what I want. And, if they're not going to jump aboard, I'm just not going to waste time. It could work out. It's not that it couldn't work out. It might, but it'll take maybe, who knows? It could take a month. Sometimes, like if you fall into a girl's frame like that, it could take upwards of a month to actually seal the deal with her. Like, so it's just like, because if she's playing hard to get like that, it will, you're not going to buy. Generally speaking, it's not that it's completely off the table, but when a girl doesn't like follow your plan, or at least come and agree to meet you at a certain spot, generally speaking, the chances of getting laid on the first date are significantly decreased, just from my experience. Not that it's never happened, but it's like, I'd say much less than 50%.
When I was first starting out, I used to go to, when I lived in New York for 7 years and I dated there for, like the last year that I was there, and I would more so go to where she was based. So I would be like, my whole thing was, where are you? What neighborhood are you in? Like, what nights are you free? Okay, Tuesday. Okay, cool. What neighborhood are you in? Oh, I'm in the East Village. And then I'd say, cool, this place in the East Village, 8 p.m. Tuesday, I'll see you there. Because for me, it's like, I wanted to put it within walking distance. I wanted to make it easier for her to show up and not flake. But the more that I'm getting into this, and the more that I'm, and the more you build your value and more experience, and that's what you really want. You want someone that's going to come to you and just say, hey, look, yeah, this place. And then it's even a funny joke. There's a couple places I like that are right across the street from me in my apartment complex. And when they say like, oh, like, do you live around here? I'm like, yeah, like right there. And then it's kind of like funny. They're like, oh, like, what do you think is going to happen? I'm like, we're going to have some drinks, and then, you're going to try to take me home, and I'm going to put you in a cab and send you on your way. So don't even try anything, or like whatever it is. Right. But yeah, I think that's such a great point where even if you are, because not every relationship has to be a long-term relationship. You could just like dating a girl and hanging out with her and sleeping with her for a long time. It doesn't have to be, monogamous thing. I generally will keep women around for as long as they want to be around, as long as they're fun and we're having a good time. But that's a really great point right off the bat. If she's going to give you any kind of resistance, or I don't know where that is, or I'd rather like go to this place, you just know that that's going to pop up in other areas as well. That resistance just to go to follow a simple direction. You're going to save yourself a lot of time and annoyance if you just cut that off right off the bat.
Hubert says, would being an asshole be a good filter for girls who are down to fuck? I mean, that's like, I don't even know. Like, when when we say like nice guys don't like finish last, it's more like nice guys like placate to the girl's agenda. Like when we say like, oh, you got to be like an asshole, it's not literally it's not that you're literally being an asshole. It's more that you're just going after what you want. You're putting yourself first. So if you go on a date with a girl and you're an asshole, you're probably not going to get laid. Like you're like, even if she's down to fuck, if she was originally down DTF and you start being an asshole, she's probably just you're gonna shoot yourself in the foot. So would you agree with my assessment?
I think most guys, they think that the asshole or cocky funny game works for everyone, and it really doesn't. If that's not congruent with who you really are, or you're not able to portray a lifestyle or a personality where you have an abundance with women, or guys can try to fake it, but it often comes down very quickly. So the whole asshole, there's being an asshole and trying too hard, and there's really just having such an abundance with women that you become sort of naturally aloof and you're outcome independent. And so you start messing with chicks and just say whatever and say, yeah, whatever. Like if you want to come over, that's fine. I'll find something better to do. Most guys won't say that. Most guys will say, oh, well, okay, like we can do it any other night, or like, that's fine. You don't have to come here. Like I'll come to wherever you want, as opposed to like, all right, cool. If that's not what you want to do, then whatever, I'll find something better, but good luck. And it's mostly about just being willing to walk away when you're not getting what you want. But you have to understand as a man that it's your job to be worthy of that. Is it like, are you a guy who's lazy, fat, don't take care of yourself, can't put a couple $100 together, a couple $1,000 together. You don't know, you don't have your shit together. And yet you're going to be talking about, oh, well, this is what a woman needs to be. This is one of the biggest problems I see in for guys today, is that guys want to have submissive, I want her to follow my lead. She needs to bow down and respect my authority, this, that, and the other. And he's splitting rent with her, or he's not willing to take the full responsibility that comes along with authority. They're linked, right? Andrew Tate talks about this all the time. And I think it's one of the smartest things he's ever said, is that, look, if you want to have authority over your woman and you want to be able to make her have an authority over the relationship and what you say goes, then you have to have the responsibility of providing and protecting and taking care of and doing the other things that you need to do, and taking the responsibility of being a guy that's got a high SMV. Because a lot of guys just want to throw around demands, and women are looking at them like, who the fuck are you? Like, why would I ever listen to what you have to say?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, it's just, you just gotta, I don't want to say be yourself, but you just gotta put your own desires before hers, pretty much, without just being a real dick about it. Just have fun on the date, and don't take like, I like what you said, be outcome independent, because a lot of guys shoot themselves in the foot before they've gone on the date, because they're too like, they're putting all their eggs in one basket. A lot of guys hitting me up and asking me how to respond to, oh, I got this girl's number. How should I message her? What should I do? And they're investing way too much into a girl that might not even reply to their message. You know what I mean? You get a girl's number, it's not that big a deal. You have to think about it like that. Stop being so invested in these girls. You don't know them. You don't even know if they're going.
The perfect response or the perfect text, say, I'm going to say this, and it's going to be hilarious, and it's going to be that like they're spending all this time, and then she just like leaves them on red, and then it's just,
she doesn't even read it. Like, it's just the amount of thought guys put into things that are just not even necessary to overthink, because she's not even going to read your message, or she might have already blocked you. So guys just need to have more of an abundance mindset and become less invested in the outcome. They need to bring that on the date too, that attitude.
Abundance solves everything, man. I've said it forever, but abundance mindset is one of the things that a lot of guys want to talk about, but until you've really experienced, it's hard to have that experience. It's hard to have that mindset if you haven't had that experience. it's really hard to fake an abundance mindset and just imagine that you have girls that are after you or girls that you can text or whatever, that you can ghost a girl for 2 weeks and then like 5 o'clock on a Friday say, what are you doing? We're going out in 2 hours, get ready, and she'll actually do it. So, it's really important for guys to be able to embody that. And that's why spinning plates and spinning multiple girls at once and having simultaneous girls that you're dating is really, really important. And I think it gets lost on a lot of guys when they think, oh, like I'm not a player, or I don't want to, that's disrespectful to the women and that's not the honorable thing to do. And it's like, look, it's about protecting yourself, because if you focus on one girl, you're going to fuck it up. You're going to invest too much of your time, too much emotional investment, and somebody that you might actually like, you're going to screw it up. So the best thing for you to do is take your time and divert your attention to multiple women and also multiple things in your life. A guy that's sitting around thinking about texting girls all day and replying back to dating app matches or whatever probably doesn't have a lot going on in real life. It needs to kind of recalibrate and figure out what path he's on in general.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, it's like you said, I agree 100%. It's very hard to fake. If you don't have abundance, it's very hard not to, to fake delaying replying to a girl. But when you actually have abundance, it's very, very easy to just not reply to a girl for hours or even a day or more than a day. It just happens naturally. So when that happens naturally, obviously it's much better.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Andrew Tate, you mentioned Andrew Tate, he talks about not caring about sex or not being that interested in sex. And that's kind of bullshit, like in the sense that, of course, he enjoys sex. He does enjoy sex, but he just has such an abundance of it. He can have it anytime he wants.
Yeah.
That it's not that big a deal. It's just he's not that concerned about it.
Right. He equates it to food. He's got a fridge full of food anytime he wants it. When he gets hungry, he eats. And then when he's not hungry, he doesn't eat. Right.
But a lot of guys get it twisted and think he's not that interested. No, if his roster somehow overnight went to 0 and it was somehow very hard for him to get laid, he would be stressed about it. Like he definitely would. Like he would care about it. Like that's a hypothetical, but just to, talking about, abundance and that kind of, as men, we all should enjoy getting laid. I mean, with healthy levels of testosterone, you're going to need to be getting some pussy. I think it's very bad for guys' mental health to be a healthy man with normal levels of testosterone, and to not be getting laid like for long periods of time is bad for your mental health.
You're absolutely right.
It's not like, it's just not good for you. It does damage to guys. They start really resenting women. They start it's not a good path to be on. So it's important for guys to know how to source and how to get laid in order to have a happy life, because life is just a lot better getting laid. I'm sure you'd agree.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, man. What do you think are some red flags for you with chicks on dating apps?
Anything in the bio, any sort of wokeness, any sort of, I'm not a Trump voter. I didn't vote for him. I wouldn't consider myself a Trump supporter, but anything anti-Trump, anti-this, Black Lives Matter, women with equal rights, like the gender pay gap, like any of these feminist talking points gets an immediate, absolutely not from me. And I was thinking about this before we hopped on. It's like, you know what? There are very few like really, really good looking women that give a shit about feminism, because why would they? It's always the women that there was a great, it's been going on. This was a joke for a long time, but now even more with, the Roe v. Wade thing happening, where it's like, it's hilarious how the women that are protesting outside City Hall about the abortion rights being overturned or whatever it is, are women that you wouldn't even want to fuck anyway. So like women that have things to do, women that have male attention, they're not worried about this kind of stuff. They're benefiting from the system that we live in. And that's something that I realize, and I find when I date some of these girls where, they'll kind of put up the veil of, oh yeah, like feminism is
Yeah.
great, it's this and that, and I'm like, yeah, like, I think it's bullshit, and I'm just not about it. I think it's, you don't get into it with them, and you don't try to tell them about the red pill and all that bullshit. You're like, yeah, like, well, I'm not really a feminist. I think it's kind of bullshit. I think that, you're either a victim or you're better than men. I don't really understand how you could be two at the same time. And then a lot of times, like, yeah, like, I guess it's true. I don't know. Like, sometimes I just say it because it's the right thing, and I'm actually not really a feminist because, I just think that there's just a bunch of victim playing fucking men haters, and it's just not a part of, it's not something that I want to have for myself. So, being congruent with that, I didn't want to talk about that stuff for a long time. People will just say, like, oh, don't talk about politics or don't talk about this. But I'm very open with what I talk about on dates and things like that, because I'll give her an opportunity to disqualify me off the bat. And you get to a point where you can do it. Again, like I said, it's all about congruence. If you're not a guy that's got his shit together and your SMV is low, and everything changes when you take care of yourself and you become attractive.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, you definitely don't try and red pill chicks on dates, but at the same time, if you have an abundance of options, and you're a high value guy, you can kind of say whatever hell you want. But you also keep in mind that trying to talk about politics and red pill a girl is definitely going to dry her pussy up real quick.
And there's a way to do it that's almost nonchalant and almost like a throwaway. It's like, yeah, I don't know. I think it's kind of bullshit. I don't really care about that.
Indeed,
or it's just in a way that, the worst thing you can do is be a fence sitter, I think. And not at least have a conviction. If you say it, yeah, you know what? I don't really buy it. I was talking to a girl I was on a date on, I think, Friday night. Or I can't remember which girl it was, but the topic of, boss girls came up. And she asked me, because she was younger. She's 21. I'm 30. And she's like, you almost didn't come tonight because I get a little bit more nervous around older guys because my sisters both got married really young. And when I see a guy that's 30, I'm trying to figure out why he's not married, like what his deal is. And, for me, and I was talking about my kind of history and how I was like, yeah, I've dated women that, put their job before the relationship, and I'm just not going to do that. I'm going to put myself, I'm going to do what I need to do. And I hope that she needs to do what she needs to do. And she goes, well, like you said that you work really hard also. So how is that different? And I said, yeah, like it's my duty as a man to be the protector and the provider. And that's what I'm going to do for the person I'm in a relationship with. And I expect the woman that I'm with to fully support me on that mission, because she understands that it's going to benefit both of us, as opposed to a woman that just cancels dates or plans because she has to work a couple extra hours. That's not going to benefit us. That's going to benefit, her. So, and that's just a very matter of fact. And so sometimes girls be like, oh, wow, like, okay, this is what this guy actually thinks, and she can dig it and she can at least respect it. But if I were to say, like, yeah, like, I know this is kind of taboo, and like, don't get mad when I say this, but I don't know, I kind of don't want my girl to work because, I don't get mad when I say it. She's like, so that's what you try to have to avoid. Like, if you're going to have a conviction, or just don't talk about it at all.
Yeah. Fully agree. Crypto Runner says topics to avoid on first date: politics, exes. I agree. I actually think when a girl brings up either other Tinder dates or hookups or exes, I have a rule where either it's one or the other. If a girl actually explicitly talks about an ex, or it's clear an she's been alpha widowed, it's either one or two things. And there's no in between. There's literally no in between. If a girl brings up a guy that she's had sex with, or she talks about other hookups, it's either she has absolutely no intention of fucking you, or she's down to fuck immediately. So when a girl does that, like she talks about hooking up 2 weeks ago or whatever, or her ex that was this like really handsome guy, I finish whatever we're doing and I try and take her home and smash them, because there's no in between at that point. Right. She's either fucking with you and she's like, oh, I'm just shooting the shit with this guy. I'm not going to let him fuck. Because a girl that like is really interested in you would never bring up that kind of
Right.
bring up fucking a guy 2 weeks ago or her really handsome ex military Chad boyfriend or whatever. They wouldn't do that. They wouldn't bring those topics up with a guy that they're interested in, in dating. So I've confirmed this so many times, but it's definitely more on the side that they're not gonna let you fuck. So I usually shoot my shot, try and bring them back to my place, finish the date because it's disrespectful. I'm not gonna tolerate it. I'm gonna try and smash. If they're not down, they're not down. Goodbye. See you later.
Yeah, and there's really no way to communicate that other than making a move and making a pull. A lot of guys, again, when we talk about mistakes that dudes make early on, there's a common things that yeah, there's this common thing that goes around where it's like, oh, if a woman flakes on you or she cancels a date on you, you need to like punish her and you need to let her know that you're annoyed about it. It's like a woman that's not, if a woman hasn't slept with you, she doesn't care. She's not invested in you. She doesn't give a shit. So this whole thing about, I had a buddy that recently, he was seeing a girl for a little while. I don't think they had fucked yet. And she went ghost on him, dark on him for a couple of days. And then she came back with oh my God, I'm so sorry. I've been so busy, blah, 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 blah. I'd like to see you again. And he goes into like fucking dad mode and he starts lecturing her. He's like, yeah, that's really disrespectful. You should honor my time. And all that does is like make you feel like sound butthurt. And she'd be like, all right, well, like, okay, cool. So, who is this guy telling me what to do? Like, I don't know this guy anything. She's just not invested in that dude yet. So, you got to communicate with women in the way they understand. And that's, subtext, and that's not lecturing them and running them through a PowerPoint presentation. That's taking action and just seeing how they go along with it. So I think that's a perfect move. If she starts bringing up exes, it's like, okay, well, this is only going to go one of two ways, and us sitting here any longer is not going to change it. So it's time to see what you're made of. So
I think guys definitely go down, listen to some bad advice about punishing chicks. It's really retarded. It doesn't work. A guy came to me a while ago and he told me a girl was 20 minutes late for the date. He was like, well, it's fine, but next time this better not happen. And what did she do? She said, fuck you. And she got up and left.
Yeah,
left
it's like,
I was like, and he was like, did I do something wrong? And I was like, yes, you were fucking butthurt. She was 20 minutes late. It's kind of like, you can expect chicks to be late for the date sometimes. Did she turn up? Was she looking hot? Fine. Okay. She was late. It's annoying. But you're like, if you're going to be sitting there with a girl, like, she's not invested. You're not punishing her. She doesn't give a fuck about you. Like, she has so many options. It doesn't matter. And I'm not saying to simp and to like just take all this disrespect. But if a girl is 20 minutes late on a date, you can expect this kind of behavior from women. It's not. Don't take it personally. But I told him, yeah, you fucked up. Like, you tried to lecture a girl that you set the tone really terribly by trying to lecture a girl that is not invested in you at all.
Girls are not like men. Girls are like children, right? Like, they can't fucking figure, they get directions, their plans. They're going to be late to stuff. They're not going to call the Uber in time. They're going to wait too late to get ready and start their hair. They're going to have a girlfriend that they have to console because she just got pumped and up by some Chad. Like, you have to account for all of that. That's just women, man. Like, they're not they're not Marines. They're not going to be on time like we are. That's just the cost of doing business. Now, look, you got to figure out what it is for you. Like, maybe it's a 10-minute window. Maybe it's a 15-minute window. I'm seeing a guy here in the chat said he waited 45 minutes. That's fine. Whatever it is for you. You have to figure out a way, though, to curb any sort of bad behavior. You have to do it in a way that women understand. And that's not through your words, and that's not verbally. That's through your actions. So it's like, okay, next time she's showing up late, fuck it, man. Go to the bar and start chatting up somebody else, chatting up another girl. As if she shows up, it's like, oh, cool. Like, you're here. Let's go sit down and have a drink. What was that? Oh, it's, just wait for you to get here. I was just passing the time. I mean, it's you sitting there like a sad sack for 45 minutes, like sipping on your Bud Light, is not going to make you look, attractive, or that you're valuing your time.
I mean, personally, if a girl was 20 minutes late, for me, I would probably leave. But unless she had messaged me to tell me that she was going to be 20 minutes late, in which case
Yeah.
it would be annoying. But I would certainly wouldn't like bring it up. If you try and make a big deal about it, you're not gonna get laid. Like you're not. It's just the way women operate. They're gonna feel like they're not, like you said, they're not invested in you. They don't care about you. You're not punishing her. And the thing about the guy that came to me is the only reason he did it is because he saw it on YouTube. He saw a this have to punish chicks, and it wasn't even congruent with him. So the girl knew this guy's trying to be alpha, trying to put down the law, and she just got up and left immediately. So yeah, man. Um, yeah, we've been going for over an hour. We're having a good chat, but we can wrap it up. Uh, where can guys find you?
Yeah, so Instagram is the best place for me. I've got links to all my stuff in the bio there. I have a small little micro site. It's a beacon site where if guys want to book me for one-on-one coaching, if they want to learn more about some of the side ventures that I've got going on, if they want to look at joining, the community that I do with Jaron and Rich, a lot of good stuff in there. The Stereo app is where I'm live every Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern, or actually it's closer to 9:30 Eastern after Rich's show. So yeah, I'm all over, man. Yeah, but Instagram is the best way to keep up with me and what I'm doing. If anybody needs help with anything, you guys want to ask me any more questions, anything, guys, just shoot me a DM. I check all my Instagram DMs. Just hit me up, and that's where I'm at.
All right, cool. So yeah, I have your Instagram linked in the description. So if you want to catch Chris and check out his links, that will be in the description. Check out his Instagram. So yeah, man, we'll leave it there. So until next time, guys, peace out. Bye bye.